pain and suffering that comes from making expensive mistakes when getting into sim racing sucks. And in some cases, it can make your experience way worse. You don't want to end up like this. I can guarantee you this does not simulate much of anything. And you can probably only sit in that seat for like max 45 minutes. The goal with the sim rig is to try to make it as close to this, aka real life driving, within your budget range. If you make fatal mistakes that cost extra money, it's only going to be taking away from your driving experience. So today I'm going to share 3 things you need to give thought to when building your rig for the first time. And I will also be talking about all the mistakes I made during this journey. Anyways, let's hop right into the first problem you're going to run into when going about building a rig. The first situation that you're going to run into is whether you should buy your sim rig, which means buy all the minor components and put it together and you'll have a final assembly. Or 2, you can actually self-build the actual frame that your entire build will be sitting on. If you're interested in saving a lot of money, build your own rig. You're paying the price with your skilled labor and time. I do recommend that if you're really trying to penny pinch and spend as low as possible on your sim rig, because if you're going to buy everything, it's probably, for a mid-entry level rig like this, it could cost anywhere between 3 to 5K USD. If you don't want to spend that much, you're looking to spend like a 2 grand probably, build your rig. Now that you know if you're going to be building or buying the components, the next thing you need to consider is a very overlooked aspect of building a sim rig, and that is what games you're going to be playing. When I was building my sim setup, I played a lot of Gran Turismo 7, but I also had a PC. So I was like, obviously, I want to build my sim rig so I can play on PlayStation and PC. However, after getting a taste of Assetto Corsa and being able to race down any toge, any mountain pass, I was hooked. And I haven't played Gran Turismo since. I mean, can you blame me though? I mean, you can't do anything like this in Gran Turismo. Part of me wants to go back, and it's nice to be able to, if I really want to, go open up Gran Turismo, so that's nice. But with how much extra money I spent on Fanatec to make it cross so I could play on multiple platforms, I would probably just full send PC and go with Moza Racing. That being said, I haven't tried Moza's products before, so I can't say much, but from what I've read, they seem pretty good, and their prices are honestly insane. For context, my wheelbase and pedals from Fanatec alone cost me almost $1,000. And with Moza, you're getting the pedals with the clutch, a steering wheel, a wheel base, an H-pattern shifter for less than $700. I'm sure there's some delivery fees in there, but still kind of insane. I guess the only downside of Moza is that you can't do PlayStation or Xbox. I believe it's PC only. I really wanted to put this out there. If you're going to be playing on PC, just for how much bang for your buck, it's really worth looking into. Regardless, if you're going to be going Moza or not, this leads me into the third thing you need to consider before just going out and buying all your gear, and that is reliability. Just like a real car, it is something you're going to want to keep in mind when purchasing your equipment. Type in Fanatec Club Sport Shifter problems, technical issues, how to fix. Look those things up, because while the product may be good, you want to see how common people are asking these questions, because it will give you an idea of how reliable it is. The reason I bring up the Fanatec H-pattern shifter is because this is a piece of equipment that truly let me down. Right out the box, this was shifting into the wrong gear and was borderline unusable. Took a couple months of playing around with it, tightening screws, switching out cables, and it's finally to a point where it's usable. However, for a $300 shifter, I really wish I just went with a cheaper, more reliable option. I'm not going to turn this into a Fanatec hate video because that's a whole other thing. If you're going to be building your first rig or even just looking to upgrade equipment, I cannot stress the importance of checking the reliability of said equipment. When I first ran into the issue and Googled this, I was shocked by how much information on the issue was out there, so I knew this was not an uncommon problem, and I wish I was aware of it earlier before purchasing. Other sim racers have told me that they have had this same exact shifter with no problems
for years. But if you're going to be dropping your hard-earned cash on some equipment, do you really want to chance it not working? So in short, research for reliability as well as functionality. Now we're going to get into the mistakes that I made when I first got into sim racing and the mistakes that I made with this rig in particular. There were quite a lot that cost me a lot of money and things I wish I did differently. So I'm going to be sharing that with you because they're not easy to fix.
The mistake I made was I went with the wheel stand before, and personally it just didn't do it for me. The wheel stand was a little too loose and not sturdy enough. I ended up buying that, and then now I have one of those just sitting around with my Logitech wheel attached to it still, and that could have saved me like $500 if I just full sent. I did a half measure and it cost me an extra $500, which could have been used to upgrading this rig. I could have got the better pedals. But honestly, those Fanatec pedals have been pretty solid. That's probably my favorite thing about my rig.
There's a reason why there are so many Logitech G920s and wheel stands for 50% off on Facebook Marketplace. However, if you just want to try out sim racing and you are fully committed to this kind of setup, you should only buy this stuff used because buying it brand new is just not worth the price. If you know you're going to love sim racing or you're committed to sim racing, I recommend just full sending the rig. Skip that whole Logitech and wheel stand phase, it's not worth it.
One of my major mistakes I made while building this rig was assuming. So when you're building this shit, don't freaking assume, because I assumed that this wheelbase would be able to fit on a front-facing mount. We can see that is clearly not the case here. So this bracket that I paid an extra, I think $100 to have a front-facing bracket instead of the base plate. So instead, usually if you get the base plate version, the rig, it'll just sit on top. This is face mounted. It gives you a little more adjustability whether you have the wheel pointing more up or down. I assumed that it would fit, but it clearly did not. We had to cut the metal here, re-weld it, but this would have cost me an extra $150 straight off the rip. Make sure it's compatible with the bracket you're buying, because if it's not, you're gonna have a bad time and have to pay more money than you should have.
The lesson learned from this mistake is double check or triple check or do your own due diligence when it comes to compatibility. I believe that the Next Level Racing face mount, it really didn't have much information going on it, so I just kind of assumed that since they weren't really stressing it, that it would fit. However, you're really going to want to go out of your way and make sure that it fits your specific model, or else it's going to cost you time, effort, and annoyance, because yeah, that was a pain. Brings me to my final mistake when building my sim rig, and it really slowed me down from getting into sim racing earlier than I should have, and that is you don't need to buy everything at once. This was a misconception I had. I was under the impression that building a sim rig wouldn't truly be worth it if I didn't have an H-pattern shifter, handbrake, triple monitor, when in reality you should really just start off with the basics. Have your rig base, your wheel, and your pedals, and just smack your TV on a cheap table from Walmart like I did here. Going about it this way will allow you to have a much lower entry cost into sim racing and will allow you to see which games you enjoy and make it obvious what gear you definitely will need versus not need. I also like starting off with the single monitor setup because it gives me the flexibility to end up going the VR route as well, so I'm happy I didn't feel like I needed the triple monitors right off the rip. Lastly, if you're looking for specific advice or input on your sim rig, I highly recommend joining the Discord server in the description box below. It's full of sim racers with a variety of setups, so it's the perfect place to see if someone has the gear you're interested in buying. And you can even join the Community Assetto Corsa server. We do a lot of fun mountain runs there, so it's always a blast. Like and subscribe for more sim racing and automotive content.